Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Deep Fried Draft Show. My name is Brian Bosarge. I will be your host for this evening. And like we have the last few episodes, we've got a very esteemed guest coming on to talk about a particular team's draft class. And tonight it's going to be the Detroit Lions. And Detroit Lion fans out there listening and or watching, yet they need a reason to have hope here. And so I hope my guests can provide that for them. He's a writer he writes about the NFL and the NFL draft for Real GM. He's the editor for Browns Wire and Lions Wire, and he's the co-host of the Detroit Lions podcast. He is volleyball connoisseur and smoothie king indulger, Jeff Risdon. Jeff, man, good friend. How are you doing, man?
It is good to be with you. And it's funny you mentioned Smoothie King. My son has basketball practice tomorrow over in the Detroit area, and we're actually going to be right by a Smoothie King, and I can't wait to get it. You made me excited. I'm thinking about it now. It slipped my mind, but I'm ready to get it. So I live on the west side of Michigan. We don't have any Smoothie Kings over here, so I have to drive for it. And you taunt me all the time because you live like 5 minutes from a Smoothie King and you never go there, Brian.
Still never been. Never been. Drive by it twice a day. Never go.
Next year in Mobile, when I'm down for the Senior Bowl, I'm treating you to it. It's my pleasure to introduce you to you.
I will gladly oblige. So let's get into the Lions, Jeff. Detroit seems to be embracing that old adage: a team takes on the personality of its head coach. New coach Dan Campbell, and they seem to be attacking that with gusto.
Yeah, he came out, with the kneecap biting, the infamous, legendary, however you want to put it, opening comments. And they are very much a hard-nosed football team, and it suits Detroit. It really does. This is a team that got away from being tough for a long time. And he has stated, Dan Campbell has stated repeatedly that they want tough, smart football players. And that's definitely the mantra with which easy for me to say, with which they attacked this draft class. They got a lot of hog mollies, man. They went after guys that are going to go out there and bite kneecaps on their way up, and it seems to be a pervasive theme. And thus far, it seems to be fairly well received by the fan base that wanted a little bit more toughness, both from the coaching staff and from the players. And getting good athletes who were tough football players, I think, was, when you look at the draft class as a whole, that's definitely what they did.
So it's going to be a weird year for sure for Detroit's first time since 2009? Is there no Matt Stafford at quarterback? You get Jared Goff, and I know a lot of fans are a bit apathetic about that. And then they make no attempt to even bring a quarterback in. So it's Jared Goff's team, at least for 2021.
It is, and for better or for worse, the man who drafted him number 1 overall in Los Angeles is Brad Holmes. He was the director of collegiate scouting for the Rams for years. He is the new general manager here. He is clearly he's definitely a Goff advocate. There's no doubt about that. He wanted Jared Goff in the Matthew Stafford trade as part of the return. The Rams were happy to oblige that. So it is Jared Goff's team. He is getting a chance to prove himself to be the long-term quarterback. There was some question amongst the fan base, and I'm certainly involved in that. I'll raise my hand. That thought that maybe they'd go after a quarterback this year as a bit of an insurance policy, but it's clearly Goff's team for at least 2021, for probably 2022. We'll see how 2021 goes, but they are rolling with Goff this year. It could be worse. I remember the pre-Stafford days of Joey Harrington and the litany of crap that we had. Dan Orlovsky, Dante Culpepper after he was done. Too many bad quarterbacks to mention. That doesn't even get into the other team.
I remember Scott Mitchell. How far back was that?
that was going back a ways. That goes back to so Scott Mitchell, God bless him, man. So I was at I'm originally from Cleveland, as you know. The last Cleveland Browns game that I went to was a game where they played the Miami Dolphins in 1993, where Dan Marino blew out his Achilles tendon. And Scott Mitchell was his backup quarterback, and he came in and he threw a pick six on the very first play that he ever had. And then after that season, the Lions went out and signed Scott Mitchell to a big free agent contract at the time. I'm like, oh, crap. I mean, he was okay with it, but yeah, so it could be worse than Goff is the point there. I don't know if he's going to be better than expectations. Look, this was a guy, he was a really good quarterback for the Rams for a couple of years. And then he and Sean McVay sort of veered in different directions for any number of reasons, and it didn't go well for Goff. And we'll see how it goes for McVay with Stafford. I wish Stafford well. I think most Lions fans wish him well. But we're gonna see what Goff has. The other thought was that they would build with some weapons around him. This is a team that lost its top 4 wide receivers from last year, and they didn't really address, the wide receiver position all that stridently this offseason. So Goff, he's going to have to really show himself to be some talent there. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but we'll see. But they had a shot at Justin Fields. They had a shot at Mac Jones. They said no, we're good with what we got. So we'll see how that plays out.
What I just heard from you to fantasy football listeners is draft TJ Hawkinson.
Yes.
And let's go.
Hawkamania, baby. He's a good one.
With the number 7 overall pick, they take the guy who was number 1 overall on my board, slightly ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon, really loved his 2019 tape. He's going to become the right tackle, I'm assuming, day one on what I think is probably one of the better young offensive lines in the NFL.
It really is. Taylor Decker is at left tackle. They paid him a lot of money last offseason, and he lived up to it. He's a good, better than good left tackle. He's not in the elite tier, but he's right in the mix of that next group below it. Very solid player and has gotten better over the years. This was a first-round pick in 2016, and he's still doing really well. They just paid Frank Ragnow this week, made him the highest-paid center in the league. He was first rounder in 2018, and he is worth every penny. He's probably the best player on the Lions, regardless of position. I know it's not sexy to have a center in that role, but he's a really good one and a definite foundational block. And now you add Sewell starting at right tackle. His game, I think it suits itself very well to playing the right tackle position. He's more power oriented than. So the big debate was will it be Sewell at tackle or Rashawn Slater? And if you needed a left tackle, I think you definitely should have gone with Slater. But if you need a right tackle, I think Sewell's a much better fit for that. So, and in full disclosure, I had Slater rated just a little bit higher. They were right next to each other on my big board, though, so it's picking nits. I'm not gonna criticize them for taking Penei Sewell and solidifying an offensive line. And like you said, it's a young group. They got Jonah Jackson in the 3rd round last year as a starting left guard. He was good. He could be better, but he's good enough. So, the offensive line in Detroit is the unquestioned strength of the team, even if Sewell isn't great. And quite honestly, it's hard to see him not being really good right away. Even after a year off, his power, his mentality, he's got to learn to move his feet a little bit better. But, man, the top potential of any lineman in this draft. And the fact he's only 20 years old, arrows pointing way up for Detroit's offensive line.
Yeah, I agree. Hypothetically, I don't think it was ever in play, to be honest. But let's say the Bengals take Penei Sewell at 5.
Yeah.
Who's Detroit taking? Is it going to be Chase, Waddle, one of the receivers, or do they just pull Slater?
The common thought was that it was going to be Jamar Chase. We haven't gotten confirmation from that. We will continue to badger Brad Holmes and Dave Campbell for an answer on that. But yes, it's probably Chase, and Holmes in his post-draft press conference did allude that they did have another player that was right there. We all assume that was Rashawn Slater, and it makes a lot of sense the fact that they would build around the line. So yeah, it would have been Chase or Slater. I would bet very good money on that.
Next 2 picks, you got you got some beefy kneecap biters here. To go with Michael Brockers, a guy who came over in a trade. Levi Onwuzurike, Alan McNeil. What are the Lions getting with these 2 guys?
So they have reshaped the front of the defensive line there, and they are almost playing offense with the defensive line now. These are attack dogs. These are not passive read and react guys. Onwuzurike is an upfield tackle. He's going to play the 3 technique. He's going to play the 4-eye. He is going to go after the quarterback. They will ask him to 2-gap at times, which I'm frankly not too crazy about, but he has the ability to do it. but this is a guy who collapses the pocket from the inside. And he's got a great guy to teach him and mentor him with that in Brockers. They still have Trey Flowers on that defensive line. So it's a crowd a little bit. We're going to see how that plays out. But, yeah, he's going to be really good in that. And he has some fantastic tape. This is another guy that opted out from 2020, so we don't have fresh tape on him. But if you go back and you watch his, ironically enough, his Oregon game that he played is just phenomenal tape from 2019. And there's a lot to like about him. Aleem McNeil, I actually like him a little bit better than Onwuzurike in terms of how he fits. This is a you come from a Bengals background, you'll remember Andrew Billings quite well. This is that kind of attack dog nose tackle where I'm gonna push the pocket back. I'm gonna get 3 or 4 sacks just because I'm stronger and can bully the center backwards. That's the kind of guy he is. This is a guy who played center field in baseball as a senior in high school, and he's now 320 pounds, 325 pounds. He looks like a guy who entered college as a running back. That's kind of the way he plays. He's got to learn to keep his pads down. Onwuzurike really needs to learn to keep his pads down. That's my biggest criticism of him is that when he's playing run defense, he doesn't go forward; he goes up. That's got to stop. But we're fairly confident our new coaching staff will get that worked out. I mean, there's a reason why he was in the second round. There's a reason why McNeil is in the third round. He doesn't always see the play all that quickly, but they are going after it with the defensive line now, and with guys like Brockers and Flowers up there and Romeo Okwara. They have the makings of a really good defensive front. They don't have the signature sack guy, but they got a lot of guys that can cause a lot of problems for offensive lines, and I think that seems to be the theme that they're going with.
You got to respect a guy like McNeil who wears 29 on the interior defensive line in college. And I'll say this about Onwuzurike. He only practiced the Senior Bowl one day. He got a little banged up or whatever after that first day, but man, was that a hell of a first day he had.
He has that ability to – what he can do, he's very good at leading with either foot, and then he has a move, and he can go to either side off that. He's not one of those guys that's going to be committed. Like if let's say he does a left side swim move, he's not going to be committed to going that way. He can spin it back. He can club his way back on the other side. He's got a lot of moves that he can do with that type of thing. So he's got some versatility there, we have a GM that's coming from the Rams where they have Aaron Donald, where they had Michael Brockers, so they've had a lot of talent up front. They don't have Aaron Donald. Don't get me wrong. They don't have anything close to Aaron Donald. Nobody does. But they have the ability to attack in a lot of different ways. And you're going to see McNeil move around. You can see Onwuzurike move around. You see Flowers and Brockers are both guys that can play anywhere from the 1 to the 5, even out to a 7 on occasion. They're going to give you a lot of different looks. And it's somewhat ironic because the old coaching staff that we had talked about being multiple all the time and moving players around, and they didn't do a very good job of it. Well, now they've got pieces, and we have a coaching staff now that I think is going to capably attack and move guys around and really take it to an offense. They're coming from a very passive scheme in Detroit. Matt Patricia was very big on reading and reacting, he didn't want guys to take themselves out of plays by being in the wrong position, and because of that, they never really made plays. They were too tentative, thinking too much. That's not something that anyone will accuse a Dan Campbell defense and an Aaron Glenn who's the defensive coordinator. If you've seen what the Saints have done on defense and you blend that with what the Rams have done on defense over the last couple of regimes, really, that they've had there. That's what we're expecting out of it. That's a defense that's going to go after you and make you adjust to what they're doing, and not vice versa. And that's a very welcome breath of fresh air in Detroit.
Two other guys that Detroit brought in from the Senior Bowl that these were two. I think in my post Senior Bowl article, these were two guys I hit on that I really liked. First, we're talking about his cornerback, Ifeatu Melifonwu from Syracuse. Like I said, he played some free safety down at the Senior Bowl, played some corner, was good at both, had a good game as well, and then tested through the roof. I don't know that he should have been available at pick 101, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising to see him there. And Campbell talked about it in his press conference. Like he stuck out like a sore thumb on their board. Like it was clear that they had to take him, even though they don't necessarily. Well, they need outside corners. I shouldn't say it that way, but they had a bigger need at safety. They had a bigger need at off-ball linebacker, which they addressed very quickly. But he's a guy, and I like the fact that you said that he played some free safety at the Senior Bowl, because that's frankly a bigger need. And with his athletic profile, I can see him transitioning to that. He's going to have to tackle a little bit better than he has. That's something that showed in Syracuse. Doesn't always have the best angles, but in terms of physical specimen, this guy checks the boxes, man. He's a big, rangy athlete. He's a physical player. He doesn't mind getting up into a guy's face and jamming them at the line and riding them out of bounds, and holding them sometimes a little too long in coverage. But so if he can play that role where he is to use the dreaded word multiple again, he can play as an outside corner, but he can also play as your third safety, and give you some looks, especially in a zone look. That's a role that the Lions absolutely need. And it's right in line where if I had him, I want to say he was my number 84 or 85 player overall. But again, that was a pervasive theme with the Lions draft and my board. They wound up getting guys like, other than Sewell, 10 to 15 spots ahead of where I had them pegged on my board is where they drafted them. And Malifon was another example of that. And I like it. Again, they have Jeff Okudah. They have Amani Oruwariye, who's a fairly promising young cornerback. He played really, really well as a rookie. Did not play well at all last year. We're hoping that was more coaching than on him. But they have some potential now, and they signed Quentin Dunbar this offseason. They could have a really good corner room. We'll see how that plays out.
For sure. The other guy, and you mentioned the off-ball linebacker, was Derrick Barnes from Purdue. Man.
That made me very happy.
This guy, it's a lot to like about Derrick Barnes, man. Big, fast, can cover, man. 5th round, come on, man.
Yeah, they traded up to get him, and it made me very happy. In fact, my daughter will attest to it. We were at a hotel room that morning. My son was playing a basketball tournament. We were gathering up, getting ready to go, and my daughter and I were watching. They made the trade, and I went, yes! And scared her a little bit. Yeah, it's very exciting to get him. It sounds like they're going to play him at inside linebacker or Mike linebacker, and that – for a guy that played all over Purdue's defense, I like the fit for it. He's going to remind Lions fans a lot of Stephen Tulloch, the former inside linebacker who did a great job in Detroit before he blew out his knee celebrating a sack. Barnes is a guy he's going to get some sacks. He's going to get some coverage reps. You saw it in Mobile, and I saw it just watching TV from home. He's a lot better in coverage than Purdue ever allowed him to be. This is a guy who ran at 255 pounds. He ran a 4.57 40 and has some agility to him, has some greasy hips. He's got some ankles that allow him to move around. That's for a defense that has suffered too long with a guy in Jared Davis who is a great athlete but had no football acumen at all. They got a guy who has a tremendous amount of football acumen. You can plug him in anywhere on that defensive front, and he will do well. He's a very, very smart, cerebral football player. And he also happens to be a great athlete. And I love the pick. If you ask me who my favorite pick of the entire draft is for the Lions, it's probably Derrick Barnes. I'm excited about McNeil too, but I really, really like Derrick Barnes a lot.
I have a hard time believing that they're going to keep him out of the starting lineup for very long. I don't see him being a reserve for very long.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's wearing the green dot on the helmet by the middle of his rookie season. He's got that kind of football ability. I'm very, very pumped about it.
So before the draft, their wide receiver depth chart was bad. It's still bad, and they only drafted one player, 4th round pick. Now, granted, maybe he shouldn't have been available in the 4th round. Probably could have gone around earlier, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick from Southern Cal. Slot guy, outside guy, probably going to play a lot.
That's a good question, and he can play both. He probably will play both. They're going to mix and match and see what they got. Like, this is still the worst wide receiver room in the league. Even after, I mean, they added Tyrell Williams. He's your number one wide receiver. They're taking flyers on guys like Khalif Raymond, Brashad Perriman. I mean, optimally, if they all work out, they could be okay. And then St. Brown would come in as the number 4 with Quintez Cephas, the only real holdover from last year on the roster. But, I mean, if you're looking at it from the outside, as you are, and you see a starting wide receiving core of Tyrell Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Quintez Cephas, maybe Brashad Perriman, your corners are going to salivate. And that is the status quo. We talked earlier about Jared Goff and him being in a basic audition for a long-term role. It's kind of tough to gauge him with those wide receivers. Now, St. Brown has some ability. He's a good quality all-around receiver. There's nothing spectacular about his game, but he doesn't really have any holes either. He is a very aggressive blocker on the outside. He will make contested catches. He will line up in the slot. He can shake a guy that doesn't have a great lateral quickness right off the line. He's a good quality, I think, in the NFL, a number 3 receiver. The fact that the Lions happen to need a number 1 and probably a number 2 ahead of him, I worry for him, quite honestly, that Lions fans are going to expect too much. And so this is my message to Lions fans. Don't expect too much. He's good. He's not Kenny Golladay. He's not Marvin Jones. Don't ask him to be. Ask him to be the best Amon-Ra St. Brown that he can be. And we might have something for a few years here because the guy can play. But again, it's a rough depth chart, dude. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's rough.
It's so bad that I looked at the undrafted players they signed, and I'm sitting there like, Sage Surratt can make this team. Jonathan Adams from Arkansas State, who's really good, can make this team.
Yes. Yes, they and I would be quite honestly surprised if one of those two isn't at least a number 3 or number 4 by the end of the season. My money would be on Adams. I liked his game a lot. You watch Sun Belt football. You know Arkansas State. That team. It's weird because normally they have decent quarterback play there for that level. They have not had it lately, and that offense. I mean, everybody knew that Adams was getting the ball a lot, and they still couldn't stop it. That says a lot to me. Yeah, that guy can play.
The Kansas State game, I think, is the one that really sticks out in everybody's mind. I believe it was the first game of the season. And he had like two over 200 and 3 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
He can ball. I consider him an extra 6th round pick because that's where I had him pegged. And I'm very excited about that. Yes, at least one of those guys is going to make this roster. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think the overwhelming thing we can take from what we just talked about the wide receivers is do not draft DeAndre Swift high. This is what I'm hearing here.
So he's going to get a lot of catches. That's the other thing, though. He and Jamal Williams at running backs, they can both catch the ball out of the backfield. And Goff is fairly adept at doing that. They didn't actually ask him to do that a great deal with the Rams, but you go back to his Cal career, he was really good at throwing those little circle routes and the dumps like that. So Swift could get, I think he had 31 catches last year. I could see him pushing 50 this year. So if you're looking at it from a fantasy side, which is not my realm at all, and you're getting points per catch, this guy could catch 50 passes, get 300 some odd yards and a couple touchdowns out of it. So he's a talented dude. I take a little bit of an L on DeAndre Swift. I was not a big fan of his coming out of Georgia. I thought he was a speed back that wasn't fast, and he showed me that he was more than that last year. And I'm pleasantly surprised and happy to have him.
So you heard that, everybody. Don't listen to me. Draft DeAndre Swift high in your fantasy drafts coming up.
only if receptions count too, because they could run the ball a lot with that offensive line and with Swift and with Williams. This could be a really good running team. We'll see. We don't know how Dan Campbell's going to call plays, but Anthony Lynn, the former Chargers coach, is their offensive coordinator, former NFL running back on his own. And a guy that hasn't been shy about giving carries out. So, and with the wide receiving core they've got, I'm kind of hoping that they run the ball a lot because in the last few years it's been please run the ball maybe 15 times a game just to give your defense some rest on the sidelines. But we wanted Matthew Stafford throwing the ball 40 times a game because that was the best way to win. Jared Goff throwing to Tyrell Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Quintez Cephas 40 times a game. that's a recipe for a number 1 overall pick.
Sam Howell, baby. Or whoever, I don't know.
I am not there yet. If you have watched the 2022 quarterbacks, God bless you, man. I am not there yet. I watched them in real time. That's about where I'm at. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I inadvertently watched Nevada like 5 times last year, so I'm all in on Carson Strong, their junior quarterback coming in this year. I think he's really good, but that's really the only 2022 quarterback I've watched with any great adaptation here.
Yeah.
Just released Kerryon Johnson, the oft-injured guy. Yeah. He's picked up by Philadelphia today. He signed Jamal Williams. You mentioned that. 7th round, though, Jamar Jefferson, running back of Oregon State. If you look at the tape, his testing and tape did not match.
No, they did not. No. This guy, he's got more giddy up. He is a when I was watching him, as you know, I listen to music while I don't listen to the game commentary. I listen to music. And I happen to be a metalhead, and I thought watching this guy, I want him in a mosh pit because that's his running style, man. He is bringing it to the defense. He did not test well, but this is a guy that I like his one cut inside move. He doesn't have great feet, but he's okay. But this is a guy who's going to take over possibly the Adrian Peterson role of a guy that you give the ball to, and he runs forward and he maximizes what he can get running forward. And I'm not crazy about drafting a running back there, to be honest with you. I wanted a different position. They have burned multiple day 3 picks on running backs that are elsewhere around the league every year. We had one last year, Jason Huntley, 5th round pick out of New Mexico State. He didn't even make the team. He's also in Philadelphia. Ty Johnson from the year before was really good as a rookie, better than Kerryon Johnson was that year. I think he's with the Jets now. I can't even keep track of where all these ex-Lions running backs go. I wanted to see them take another wide receiver. I would have liked to have seen them take a safety, maybe another, an off-ball linebacker with some speed, maybe a pass rushing prospect like that. I don't get taking the running back there. I really don't, especially when they got a couple of undrafted guys that I actually like better than Jamar Johnson. And I don't want to say that I'm speaking bad about Johnson because I do think that he has a chance to contribute to this team as a rookie, but it wasn't the allocation of resources that I would have gone with myself.
I tend to go into any draft class that I'm looking at. If you get anything out of a 6th or 7th round pick, I'm just good, I guess, because I'm at this point, I don't expect anything from those guys. And if that's I always make fun of teams that draft long snappers and stuff like that in the 6th or 7th round.
Yes.
But I mean, but those guys are going to contribute more than 90% of the other 6th or 7th round picks. So
they will.
But it's still.
I would have liked to take a running back with some return ability because the return gig is open. Jamal Agnew is elsewhere now. And that's going to be one of the camp battles we have, and it doesn't strike me that Johnson will be involved in that battle. So, I would have taken, just something different. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm down on the guy because I do think the guy can play, but running back was not where I would have gone with the pick. But we'll see what happens with it.
I was higher on Jefferson than probably a lot of other people. I mean, I probably had maybe a 4th or 5th round grade on him. So. Okay. I mean, 7th round it's fine. I really enjoyed watching him play against Oregon last year. The game that was you couldn't if they didn't have the highlighter uniforms on, you would not have known it was so foggy that you couldn't tell what was going on.
Yes, that game that was tough. Yeah, I won't profess to watching a lot of Oregon State last year. I watched that game. I watched Cal, and I watched one other. I want to say Stanford, maybe. I don't know.
I watched
the notebook. The notebook's right over there.
Yeah, I watched 3, but I can't remember what the 3rd one was either.
Yeah.
I got a couple more things. Well, and I'll let you get out of here. You mentioned Frank Ragnow earlier, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the extension that he got. The thousands of crying Bengal fans that probably let out at the time he signed his extension because let's be honest, man. He should have been there. Not Detroit, but it is what it is.
We're very happy about that in Detroit. And, it was definitely a case of, I'll say this. I liked Billy Price. I thought he would be better than he was. But, Ragnow was he is if he's not the best center in the league, he isn't far down the list, and he deserved to be the highest paid center in the league. He is a massive, massive, incredible player. Just so good. He's so good at everything, Brian. He's so much fun to watch. And his press conference today, he went into tears talking about, how much this meant to him. It's clear that it was very important to him to get it and to achieve his goals. And he's spending a good portion of it on fishing gear, and he's going to upgrade his fishing. This is a guy that you just can't help but love and root for this guy, and we're blessed to have him in Detroit. We really are.
I mean, once Ragnow was gone, James Daniels should have been the pick, not Billy Price. But that's
I don't hate that pick. I like James Daniels too.
I do too. Last thing.
Reminiscing about good football teams that we don't cover. Yeah.
Last thing here. What's your realistic prediction here for the 2021 Detroit Lions?
Oh boy, this is a last place football team in the NFC North, and the only way they're not is if Kirk Cousins gets hurt or if Chicago's defense gets really old really fast. Both of those things could happen. And then there's the Aaron Rodgers dynamic in Green Bay. Who knows how that's going to play out? If he's not their quarterback, then all bets are off. But Detroit, this is a team. They're moving in the right direction. They absolutely are going to be a lot more fun to watch. They're certainly going to be more pleasurable to cover, which I greatly appreciate because the last 3 years were not fun for anyone involved with the Detroit Lions. All fun was banned basically by the prior regime. It's great to see players enthusiastic about showing up for work. It's great to see them enthusiastic about their coaching because that was not the case under Matt Patricia. But there's a talent ceiling on this team. Assuming Jared Goff is the guy that he was in Los Angeles, assuming that the rookies, and I like the rookie class. I hope that shows. You're asking a lot out of them. The defense, I think, is going to be decent. I think a lot of the guys, specifically guys like Tracy Walker, Jeff Okuda, even to some extent Romeo Okwara, Jamie Collins, especially in the middle of that defense. I think those guys struggled more, and they're better players than they showed under the Matt Patricia regime because they're going to be allowed to be themselves a little bit more. And I think that's really going to help. And I do think that the defense is probably going to be ahead of the offense. But there's a finite limit to how good they're going to be. They don't really have a signature pass rusher. Their cornerbacks are questions. Now if their cornerbacks played to their potential, and Tracy Walker gets back to being the safety that he was as a rookie, the defense could actually be pretty good. But they're going to struggle to outscore teams with the weaponry that they have on offense and with Jared Goff, unless he's back to being the Pro Bowl Jared Goff of 2017. And frankly, I don't see that guy there. This is their Vegas win total is usually 5.5, and that's like going 5-12, 6-11. Those are probably the two most likely outcomes. I'm probably leaning more towards 5-12, maybe 4-13 if they do have a tough schedule. I don't think they're going to be worse than that, and I think they're going to play hard, and they're not going to be a gimme opponent for good teams anymore like they have in the last couple of years. This is a team, I would guess, from the Vegas side of things, I would guess they're going to cover the spread more than they don't. And they're going to be one of those sneaky teams where, they're going into, let's say they're playing Chicago in week 3 and the Bears are 7.5 favorites. I'd bet really good money on Detroit to cover that. Not to win, but to cover. I think they're going to be competitive. They're going to be a lot of close games. One thing that we didn't mention, their special teams, Matt Prater is gone, so they're trying Randy Bullock as a kicker. You know Randy very well. We'll see how that goes for him. Good
luck with old two calves there.
Yeah, I had to bring it up. So
fat Randy, good luck with that.
Yeah, so we've been able to rely though on Matt Prater to kick like 1 or 2 55-yard game-winning field goals every season. That dynamic's gone, so I think that does. I don't think a lot of Lions fans have come to grips with the fact that they're not going to be able to kick 50-yard game-winning field goals as time expires anymore because that's not Randy. Yeah. But Don Muehlbacher, Longstaffer's back for an 18th season. and he's still one of the best in the business. And Jack Fox was arguably the best player on the Lions last year. He was the punter. So to give some hope, last year I legit freaked out that they lost Sam Martin as their punter. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because I liked Sam Martin. He was a good punter. And I was worried to death, and they wound up getting better than him. So maybe Bullock, they do have another kicker in camp. Maybe something like that will happen again, and I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I'm not going to bet on that when I'm betting on a season win total there.
No. So Jeff, what I'll do is I'll give you the month of we'll let you take the month of June off, and then you guys start watching those 2022 quarterbacks.
I probably need to because this team, even if Goff is good, they still need to be in the market because he is technically entering 2022 as the last year of his contract, for all intents and purposes. And they'd be stupid to not at least look. I guess I'm caught up in these Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, Keaton Slovis, who knows, the dude from Liberty that I haven't seen play yet. There's a lot of guys that I got to look at.
Jeff, thanks for coming on with me tonight, man. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
Absolutely. You can find me at Lions Wire and also Browns Wire at USA Today at the Wire sites. I do write for Real GM. I should have some content up on Sunday. That's more where my actual draft stuff goes and broad general all NFL things go. Appreciate them for supporting me throughout the years. You can find me if you want to really get into the Detroit side of things. I do co-host a Detroit Lions podcast. It's up on YouTube. Search DET Lions Podcast or Detroit Lions Podcast. You'll find us. We had a great show this week with Dan Shaka from Our Lads, who really broke things down very well in the draft class too. So if you're interested in that, please go check that out because it's a great time and we have fun with it. And I don't believe I cursed this week during that show, which might be a first.
Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
I'm trying, man. Got to be a good example to the kids.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. I really appreciate it, man. I can't wait to see you in January.
I cannot wait to give you some Smoothie King, my friend. I will see you in Mobile in January.
That was Jeff Risdon, Lions expert here, Browns Wire, Lions Wire, Real GM, Detroit Lions Podcast. He's all over the place. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Risdon to see all his stuff, man. Great guy. Good friend there, Jeff Risdon. And so that's going to do it for tonight's show. We'll be back tomorrow night with we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not, obviously not my favorite team to talk about, but Shane P. Hallam's going to come on to give us some Steelers draft insight tomorrow night. But that's going to do it. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, like the video, all that good stuff. Support the Deep Fried Draft YouTube channel. We're trying to make this thing get pretty big here. And follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. Facebook's your deal. Find me there, Deep Fried Draft as well. That's going to do it for tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until next time.